Welcome to Vacation Rental Mastery, where your host, Karan Narang, guides you through harnessing vacation rental investments. Whether you're new to vacation rentals or expanding your portfolio, this podcast fuels your path to freedom. Join us in this movement to transform your life. Ready for change and legacy building? You're in the right place. Let's embark on this freedom journey and master vacation rental investing together.
Welcome to this call, and I'm looking forward to helping you out on this short-term rental discussion we're about to have. So thank you for agreeing to be on this, and tell us a little bit about yourself, Caleb.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. So I am a residential real estate broker out of Houston. I've got 2 or 3 offices, and we're pretty diversified in the book of business that we do, from commercial to residential. Pretty heavy emphasis on residential and new construction. I also dabble in quite a bit of just investment type of properties, whether it be farm and ranch or even STRs, which is our subject today. So I guess I took a dive off into STRs when most of the rest of the world did in kind of 2020. Had been familiar with it before, had kind of done a little bit of just word of mouth. I would say STR renting to just peers and builders and sending people to properties that we own, but it never really posted anything on Airbnb or took a business approach with it. So I guess my philosophy when I first started out was to just secure a couple of properties that are going to fit, that I would say that legacy property portfolio that we want to achieve and secure as a family, to where, hey, we've got a beach property we can go to enjoy time at. It's 45 minutes away from my home. So that property is in Crystal Beach, Bolivar area on, the other side of the ship channel from Galveston. So growing area, experiencing a lot of growth right now, both infrastructure, resort wise, a lot of tourist attractions. Margaritaville just acquired a large RV park out there. So, it's been in the news and the headline quite a bit, but with that, there's also been an extreme amount of just saturation with both rentals and secondary owners. A lot of construction because there's, anybody who is somebody in the East Texas, Central Texas, or especially Houston region has gone down there to, build homes. So if they build homes for a living or anything outside of, that area in Houston, it's very easy for them to get trades down there and build. So a lot of new homes coming online. I would say that the Airbnb piece is probably tripled as far as just available units online in just the last 3 years. So I had 2 properties down there and acquired one, I guess, early 2020. I acquired the second property, which was, that long-term property that has good water view, 4 bedrooms. It fit all the criteria for my buy box there. And just sensing the level of saturation and not fitting my goal to have multiple properties down there, we sold the smaller property, which was a cash cow, to be honest with you. So we did really well on that one. We had purchased it for roughly $325 right at the, kickoff of the pandemic. Might have put in, maybe 30 to 40 into it to get it remodeled. It was a primary dwelling for somebody and just not very well cared for. And so we went in and just did the basics: floors, fixtures, paint, and just some cosmetic, facelifting items there. And I think that, that property did like 23,000 gross the first year, and had super high occupancy rates during the peak season from like April to September. So, did really well on it, ended up selling it for $440, like maybe 15, 16 months later, just to liquidate and, roll over some money into this other property that I acquired through a 1031 from, flipping a property. And it just, the timing was, honestly just beautiful for it. Got very fortunate on that. And, that's the property that I sent over to you that we plan on holding, for quite a while. I get approached by, quite a few people, or let's just say a handful of people within our kind of network that are really interested in purchasing it from what I've done with it. So with I would say just the inventory getting pretty thick and heavy down there, we wanted to do something different with it. My wife and I are both, kind of washed up college athletes, love working out, love, anything fitness related, being active. So I had two, lower portion finished out garages on this one, which is fairly rare. And there was a third bay that was just kind of open there. So had my framers come out, finish out that. And we built a pretty decent little home gym set up there with turf and kind of a cross training, CrossFit style emphasis with some more, I would just say, like kind of beach themed workout equipment, sandbags, go ruck sandbags and go ruck bags and things of that nature. And I really plan on kicking that off this year. So last year was my first year with it. I think we wrapped that up around early March. Or late March, I would say, on the completion of the project. And I just didn't have my ducks in a row on feeling comfortable with advertising that on the Airbnb platform, liability wise and things of that nature. So I just did it through a word of mouth. And man, I think we booked pretty much, 100% occupancy for kind of the 3 main months through June, July, and August. And I only had 2 come through Airbnb, which, wasn't really, a problem. And we had so much word of mouth just through a couple of private Facebook groups. So I think if anybody can take anything away from what we did with that was, just staying within our lane and our kind of passions and / quote unquote expertise. And just posting in a few private fitness groups that we may pay $50 a year, $200 a year to be a part of. So it's kind of a dual purpose deal. We obviously utilize those apps and communities, and we posted on there. And they seem to go viral every single time we would post that property. So I'd like to, my brand, my quote unquote personal brand is something that is on my my one sheet for GoBundance to really look forward to growing this year. I've done a good job of growing our company image and brand, but I've been, for lack of better terms, kind of like an undercover entrepreneur. So really want to try to step out and start doing that. And part of my brand is just outdoor centered properties, adventure centered style, rentals and investments and things of that nature, whether that be farm and ranch, STRs. But on the STR topic, I would say I didn't really have my house in order on. I have systems. We have it through through Guestly, and that's worked. I would say, for everything that I needed, it's worked really well. I do have it on Price Labs. I have not done a good job of really monitoring and studying just algorithms and the rates as we go through that. It was a really slow off season, but we weren't too concerned with it. And I used the off season to send down, builders and folks that I work with just as, kind of a favor and reciprocated, value there. So, but I would say the areas that I can really improve upon is just make sure I have an ironclad, rental agreement in place, streamlining some more of my systems, and really monitoring those rates and figuring out how aggressive I should be on trying to push the limits on that rate in a market that's extremely saturated.
Awesome. There was a lot there, and I do commend you on a spectacular property. I looked at the property, it looks phenomenal. I think you've done a very good job with the property, and I've seen a lot of properties down in the Crystal Beach area as well. And definitely one of the nicest. You've got a great view, and I think you've done a great job. So congratulations on that. Now, as far as, you brought up a few things come to mind. Then first and foremost, you spoke about how you're trying to build a property that you and your family could also enjoy, right? And I often tell people that typically, a property is either a personal use lifestyle asset or it is an investment asset. It can do only one of those two things really well, right? If it's a personal use lifestyle asset, then you have to know and understand that there's a good possibility that it's probably not giving you that maximum return, right? So, and you need to be okay with it because that's your personal use lifestyle asset. It's close to home. I can go enjoy it from time to time. And when I rent it out, it helps me subsidize the cost or break even, right? On the other hand, when you're talking about a pure investment, for example, I invest all over the country, wherever it is, wherever a good deal is, right? You don't have to be local. It doesn't have to be in your backyard. Because to me, if you're investing in a property as an investment versus a personal use lifestyle asset, you go where it makes the most money and you make that work, right? So kind of two separate things altogether. I did hear that this was a personal use lifestyle asset as well that you're trying to build for legacy, which is a good thing. Nothing wrong with that. As long as we're clear about that distinction, then your expectations are the right way.
Absolutely.
Now, so the second thing that came up, you spoke about how you're able to rent it out. You got almost 100% occupancy by networking, by just getting the word out and getting people to come out and book it. I think what's happening is you're not optimizing the biggest marketplaces out there, right? End of the day, regardless of whether we like it or not, Airbnb is absolutely the biggest marketplace for short-term rentals out there. You would then have VRBO. If you're not optimizing those channels, you can be almost certain that you're leaving some money on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Because the marketplace is actually a good place for the dynamics of pricing and supply and demand to actually work. That's what helps you determine whether your property should be priced at $250 a night or $1,000 a night, because it's a marketplace, and in order to maximize that revenue, to really optimize the property, you need to optimize its presence in the marketplace, because
Mm-hmm.
that'll help you determine the best possible prices and give you the best possible return. The third thing that I thought about is, yes, you did capitalize on that one asset. Now you have a second one, but the plan is, where are you going from here? So you spoke about, the brand of outdoor, adventure related, outdoor themed properties, whether they be STRs or something else. I don't know if you know this. My personal brand on our STRs is called Adventure Awaits. Okay. We do spend a lot of time, we create these properties, we work on these properties, which are basically focused on getting people together, families, friends, and people coming together.
Quick summary, 3 to 5 properties, and, ideally just unique style properties that are, something that we can incorporate our vision into, for being just very active outdoor centered properties.
So the hill country region for me is actually, that's my number one area. My highest performing property is in the hill country, or at least at the entrance of the hill country. It's by Leander, like Jonestown area. Do you know that area by Lake Travis?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
love Texas hill country, and I think there's a ton of opportunity out there. My specific area where we excel is setting up these large properties that can sleep between 20 and 30 people, but are more
Mm-hmm.
geared towards like weddings and events.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're doing, and that's what our I'll call it niche is. But I can totally see this, setting up unique properties that are more geared and focused towards outdoor activities. So yeah, there's huge potential there, and it's actually a huge plus that you already own the land, and now you basically need someone to come in and basically have a vision, have a plan, come up with a plan that's more outdoor centric. What location are these properties in?
So I have one right outside. I do co-own a STR property. I guess I failed to mention, but we have that turned over to a property management company in Concan on the Frio River.
Okay.
So it's in Concan Country Club. Very high performer. That area is extremely, I would argue, self-managing there can be extremely tough, because finding trades, finding services, cleaners, and things like that are reliable can be just a huge challenge. But we're very happy with the property management company that we have there. They self-source a ton of their the rentals, and that property is done very well. So it's in Concan Country Club. It's on the golf course. We've got a pool and hot tub on that one. It sleeps 32.
There you go.
So we're looking at putting in like a putting green, maybe a pickleball court or something of that nature here in the near future. And I mean, we've been very pleased with that. I actually don't have the 2023 numbers just yet, but I do know it exceeded our expectations, and our property management kind of expense is fairly modest. We're at the 18% kind of expense category there for them, or for their charge and fees. And that's another broker that retired out of the Houston market that we had a really good relationship with, that acquired a management company there. So and I've done some helping them kind of help on the marketing piece with just with their company. So they passed on some savings. The other properties, I personally own 100 acres outside of Kerrville, on the kind of the Hunt, HUNT side of town, and a lot of potential. That one's very secluded and rural, but it would be a fantastic kind of just little men's retreat. I've got a cabin and a barn dominium shell that we can finish out relatively inexpensively. And the potential for it to sleep probably 12 would be pretty simply achieved, but we wouldn't want any more than that. But it would be a really good kind of fly fisherman's hangout, somewhere for somebody to go to just kind of get away and unplug. So it's very secluded and off the beaten path. So that would be the only downside to it. But like I said, the debt that I service on it is probably like $1,500 a month. So we have a wildlife exemption on that property, making taxes essentially, $500 a year. So, we probably would only allow access to maybe 5 acres of it, which would be plenty adequate. And we're also looking at acquiring my business partner. I have equitable interest in some of the property he owns, but we kind of, I'm about a 25% partner on about 500 acres that he has in Junction. So that's a little bit further west of Kerrville, about 45 miles or so. We're honestly, putting that on the discussion board this year of maybe selling, just because it's just a few factors there that it doesn't match what we're looking for, but really no interest in turning that into any type of destination place or anything of that nature. But so a town called Comfort is on my radar right now. And I discovered a property there that has been on and off the market for quite a while. It's 12 acres. It's right off Highway 87, 2.5 miles off I-10. You're 15 miles from downtown Fredericksburg. You're 4 miles from downtown Comfort. And you're another 12 miles from downtown Kerrville, and roughly 15 minutes, about 18 miles, 15 minutes down 10 going back east to Bernie. So I had a pretty good vision on that property if I could get the seller terms negotiated. And that was going to be a really cool property with very nice aerial views, good proximity. I wanted to turn it into, it had good topography, so I wanted to try to turn that land with some land clearing and some improvements into mountain bike trails. We're big into kind of archery, so it would, there's a big following for an event that travels around the nation called TAC, and it's Texas Archery Challenge, and they shoot 3D targets, so you'll have like 3D animal targets that are foam, and they set up throughout there. So I'd like to do 3 to 4 events a year where we set up, possibly 4 or 5 different stations. We'll have the whole gamut of housing there, but also a separate structure, like a barnuminium style that would sit up on the second tier and the second shelf with phenomenal views, have a pool and everything up there, and put in, like a gym and just an outdoor hangout area. So we have good resources up there for contractors and trades to be able to do that. It'd be a pretty significant investment into improving that property, but purchasing it on seller terms, I think in 5 years, with just the improvements we would do to that property, with the land and everything that it would have and the improvements on it, it would probably be sitting around like that $1.5 million mark potentially. Maybe let's just say $1.3 million to $1.5 million evaluation. And if I could acquire that property at lower 700s and put in another 300,000 or so is what we were looking at to accomplish all of that, maybe 350. That would be pretty ideal. So that's still on the opportunity list for us this year. Going back and forth with the sellers. It's an elderly couple that have had that home for 30 years or so. So I would say the biggest thing that holds me up on those is just there's some unknowns to a property like that for me to calculate revenue potential. And so sometimes I feel like I'm forcing the issue and trying to create the value and create the revenue. And I guess I personally have that tendency to try to come in and always create something creative or different, right? And not entirely sure how the market is going to receive that. So maybe I'm overly optimistic sometimes. So maybe double-edged sword there. And so calculating revenue potential for something like that, as well as just the simple things of managing it with resources and cleaners and things like that, to where an area that can be challenging to find the right, team to help you with that.
No, and you brought up a good point there. I was going to ask you because you have a lot of brilliant ideas. You're trying to create these experiences for guests, which is what actually, end of the day, that's what helps you stand out of the crowd. That's what helps you outperform the market, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily think that last statement that you spoke about, where you try to get creative every single time. I don't think that statement is accurate in the sense I would say it's a good thing you try to get creative because you're better off doing that and taking the chance on yourself or betting on yourself versus saying, I'm just going to go buy a cabin in the Smokies that looks like every other cabin and hope to make money on it. Okay?
Right.
You, if you've experienced and seen what you can do or can make out of this. For example, even before you acquire a new piece of property to make this happen, you could test it out on the property you already own, right? You seem to
Mm-hmm.
have interest in multiple properties, which is good. Could you use one of those properties to test out the theme you're talking about? Or do you think that this new property you're looking at now has is lower hanging fruit for you to take it and turn it into what you want real quick? But I would by no means say you need to stop getting creative. I think that's the key. If you're going to do well, you absolutely need to be creative. We had the same challenge, when we bought this property in Jonestown, which is, frankly, nobody knows Jonestown. Nobody goes to Jonestown. It's not a destination. Nobody goes there, right? When we bought the property, we just had a vision for it. And we said, we think this can make a good property where we can have weddings and we can sleep people, right? It's taken us, the last year or so to truly prove that test case out, but we always analyze it with the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, will it cash flow as a regular Airbnb, as a regular short-term rental? If it does, let's take that risk. What's the upside? What's the downside? The upside is it's only about 35 minutes outside of Austin. It's on 10 acres. That's a lot of value there. And if I really needed to, I could, split that
Yeah.
property into half and sell off half the land, thereby reducing my cost basis and making it a regular Airbnb. So as long as you can educate yourself and go prepared into this, I'd say absolutely stay creative on it because that's the only way you're going to really crush it in the market. And all you need is one property to crush it to really take things to the next level, right? So I
Makes sense.
say don't ever question yourself for being creative, in my opinion, right? So create that destination because
Right.
that's what really sells.
Absolutely. No, that's great advice. And yeah, I mean, I think for me, I mean, I like the idea of having, lesser volume when it comes to property. So I'm super intrigued by just the venue and the event side of things. I guess, one question just to hit on that, we can talk more later, is just on your business plan for that, for the events and venues. Do y'all partner with, other event managers and things of that nature to help bring you clients and they run the events, or do y'all even take roles in actually, assisting with coordinating, weddings or things of that nature?
So great question, and we actually don't partner with anyone to bring in events. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we just list it on Airbnb and the platforms. We also have our own website that we put a separate tab on called events and weddings. So actually, we call it weddings. And we basically market it on social media. We market it directly with people who are looking for it. We subscribe to some leads that come in from third-party wedding websites, right? And that's we most of our bookings actually the inquiries come in from Airbnb because we say weddings. There's people very actively looking for it. So
Mm-hmm.
we haven't found the need to truly partner with anyone at the moment to try and get those leads. And we're booked solid. I mean, we're our nightly rate on those properties. Think about it, right? As a regular Airbnb, that property sleeps 22 is about 30 to 40 minutes outside of Austin. As a regular
Mm-hmm.
Airbnb, probably does about 1,500 a night or something like that in that range. Our ADR for 2023 was about 2,200 bucks a night, 22 to 2,300 bucks a night. Our bookings that we have for 2024 so far are trending at 28 to 2,900 a night. So we've almost doubled the revenue on that property by going down this model and getting creative with it. Getting creative on that property is truly what allowed us to push the ADR higher.
Mm-hmm.
So
Awesome.
I can understand how not being a regular normal property can make it way difficult to underwrite the property.
Right, right. I would say, real quick on my like beach property, any advice on me just, I would just say liability wise, when you incorporate a home gym. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's not much different, I guess, from a perspective of risk when it comes to like having a pool at your property or having, multiple properties that have just specific, unique types of traits. So, I mean, anybody can get hurt on anything. So when I'm forming, a type of agreement and liability release, and I may be incorrect in saying that, but is there anything procedures that you would take that kind of ease that concern on my end?
So, I see a lot of people being so concerned about all these different things. Now, in your case, you're doing gym equipment there, right? Not necessarily a bad thing, but what I would do is I'm not even sure I would go to the extent of putting a full liability release in there and a waiver and stuff like that. In my opinion, as long as you have it covered really well in your house rules and your communication with the guests, and you send them this whole separate thing about the fitness equipment being there and they have to be careful with the kids and stuff like that,
Hmm.
I think you're okay. I see a lot of people worry about, oh, I have paddle boards at my beach property, and there's a liability with it. There's a liability with anything. You have a deck. There's someone's
Sure.
going to jump over. Who knows, right? I
Yeah.
wouldn't kill yourself with that. I would just make sure that your listing clearly says that if you are bringing children or if you're using the equipment, then you are responsible for your own safety. And I think that's
Right.
enough. And my philosophy has always been that I run my business by exception. I'm going to take that approach until the first time something happens and I need to deal with it, right? I need to
Hmm.
minimize the resistance to the property performing the way it's supposed to.
Right.
So
Right.
I,
No, it
I,
makes a lot of sense. I don't. I'm definitely not as proceed. I'm more of a proceed with caution type guy, to
yeah,
where I'm going to take the risk, and then be just assess the risk as we progress through that property. But I'm not going to let it hinder my creativity, right? So I don't
yeah.
want. I want to take into consideration risk, but I also don't want to allow it to hinder maybe my talents and skill set, and that is being, just pushing the limits and being a little bit different. So I get exercise a little bit more when it comes into dealing with my own assets, just due to the nature of the world we live in, and having been a part of several very frivolous lawsuits that were quickly thrown out and dismissed. But when it comes to the residential brokerage side of things, but it still costs me money to cover my ass and basis on that. So I guess when it comes to the properties, obviously, have proper protection within the,
Mm-hmm,
individual like
mm-hmm.
LLC entities and things of that nature. But yeah, I mean, that's why this year I want to, the putting the gym on Airbnb. Like I didn't even have it advertised on Airbnb last year. So that'll be something that I know we promote. We try to change those photos as frequently as possible. And you may know the answer to this. It's probably a pretty elementary question, but are you allowed to put like lifestyle photos in there? So if we have like a few, let's just say like human talent in there working out and post pictures of people actually utilizing the space, is that allowed on Airbnb?
Yeah, for sure. Hey, lifestyle pictures are a big thing. You want to show people what they're capable of doing there, what they can do there. Hey, I'm doing yoga, watching the sunrise, if that's it, right? Or if I'm picking up, working out, doing my weight training with this beautiful sunrise in the background. I think that's perfectly okay. In fact, I like that a lot. I've considered you can actually hire people for this lifestyle photo shoot and have them come there and they do the
Mm-hmm.
workouts and stuff like that. Have a photographer come in and take some pictures, man. I'll tell you, if you're creating a unique space for people that'll stand out of the
Yeah.
crowd, showcase it in the best light without, and I don't think
Yeah.
there's way too much skepticism around a lot of this sometimes, but give it a shot. What do you have to lose,
Mm-hmm.
right? You already have the space. You're already creating that thing. Put it there. Put it out there.
Right.
Yeah, I would actually,
Absolutely. No, and
if it's me, I would actually use that and really push hard to maximize because if that property starts to churn and really bring in that cash flow, would it help you by opening up your mindset to saying, let's go build this destination. I want to build in a different spot.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of my vision. I would love to I would love to navigate building, the brand around myself and my following, and just like any type of, I would just say, influencer, industry expert, anything that you see in social media. So like in the, with health and wellness, biohacking, overall, just, not holistic, but just being outside and centered around, the outdoors and focusing on your health is a pretty big following right
Yeah,
now. So, I
yeah,
mean, so it's just something to play off of, and just the outdoor industry, the hunting industry. It's all things that I have experience with, from helping with marketing for hunting TV shows, and my early 20s and everything. And I have a lot of contacts in that side of the industry as well, and also working, handling a lot of farm and ranch sales, kind of in that Central Texas, West Texas region, going in the hill country. I'd love to start creating, just a couple of properties, or even a property, to where even guys like Can Go Bunnets can go take and do a retreat. We did a retreat last year at the beach house, and it was probably one of our, better, deeper dive, meetups that we had all year. So we're going to do another one in this March. I'm going to have my videographer come out and just create a little bit of content for it as
yeah,
well. And a lot of people that want to start creating, coaching retreats or anything of that nature, like properties like you have, would probably be an excellent, destination for those types of gatherings. And
yeah.
and I think that's something that we would like to focus on too. And like I said, you have 3 or 4 events a year that you can set up at these larger properties, where you have a
Mm-hmm.
group of archers come in, and they may pay, instead of 500 a night, you charge just $1,500 for the weekend for each person, or a +1, and they can bring out their son, or they can bring out whatever the theme of that event. If it's a father-son type deal, if it's hey, bring your buddy out. We provide meals and things of that nature. So having worked in a
Yeah,
few different capacities with large ranches, recreational ranches, the entertainment piece for us is something that we can do pretty easily. And then I think just the notoriety of that property from those events are going to be word of mouth spread pretty quickly, to help that marketing piece. And I'm not saying that I'm not a fan of Airbnb. These properties would definitely be on Airbnb as well, but
yeah.
being able to build a brand around those as well. Do you emphasize direct bookings at all, or do you solely just rely on the main platforms?
No, we do a lot of direct booking, so especially think about our wedding guests, right? They want to see the property before they can
Mm-hmm.
book their lifetime event, right? And most times they want to, they
Right.
find us on Airbnb or VRBO, they reach out to us, they find us on social media, because we put out a lot of content on social media as well. If you look at Adventure Awaits Stays, you'll
Mm-hmm.
see that we have a marketing person constantly posting stuff. We send out email stuff. We have a lot going on there, and they typically will find us online and reach out, and we'll book them direct at that point. But yes, a lot of these events will come in
Mm-hmm.
direct, and then the marketing is a big part of it. I don't know how much you guys do, like social media marketing, but for example, I have a full-time dedicated person that all she does is marketing for the properties, and marketing and social media posts, because not only do we own multiple properties, we also manage for, or co-host for, about 20 different owners. So we're constantly pushing out content, constantly pushing out media. And it's
Yeah.
not so much that it's going to convert into bookings overnight. People are not just going to see
Mm-hmm.
it and book, but it keeps your brand and your product front and center of mind, so that when they're ready to book, they remember you, right? That's the goal
Right.
of the marketing. The second thing is, the more content you put out there, the easier it is for the search engines to pick up your property when someone looks for it.
Right.
If you just have a website and someone's going to go in and look for, hey, Adventure Awaits Hill Country, it's possible you're not even going to come up with it, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
just a website. But I don't even know. Maybe if I do a search right now, we'll know whether it comes up. But I bet you'll see our Facebook page, if you do Adventure Awaits Hill Country, or weddings at Adventure Awaits Hill Country, or something like that, and you're going to find it, because we have all the content out there. We've got a lot of things going on there. So if you're going to create this unique experience, then the marketing becomes a huge part of it, right?
Right.
We're booking, like I said, our on all of our revenue across all our properties. At the moment, we're about 20 to 25% direct bookings, and we're pushing that higher every single day. But it takes a lot of effort, and it takes 24 months, 18 to 24 months to really start getting that momentum there. But once it starts getting and you keep pushing it out, I think it gets better and better. Now, what's also interesting is, you speak about the retreats. Have you spoken with Clay Speakman? He does the grid games.
Right, not directly. It's definitely a contact that I've been encouraged, by a few members to make. So hoping that I get to link up with him maybe here at Vermont or something here pretty soon.
Yeah, if you're going to do, it's more outdoorsy, active, more workout kind of stuff. I mean, grid games, that can be, glamping tents for all you care, and he brings people out there, and you can do these events and retreats. I think it'd be spectacular. You can create this whole glamping experience along with it, and I think that could make a huge difference. We just glamped about a month ago. We did glamping in Peru. We did it in the desert.
Oh, wow.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that experience, because they took us out in a dune buggy, and we had the duning experience. We did sand duning. We did all kinds of stuff, and basically ended up at this glamping area with tents. And they cooked us meals in the desert. It was unbelievable, spectacular experience, and not like nothing else. They didn't even have bathrooms on site, right? So they had a trailer with a porta potty on it, right, or a couple of porta potties, but they didn't have showers. And what they did was, and I can send you this because this whole environment was awesome. They had this whole setup where you check in at this location in the city. They took you out on dune buggies and stuff like that, and they basically out in the desert. You did sand duning, you watched the sunset in the desert. They did all kinds of cool stuff. We spent a couple hours there, ended up in this glamping area, cooked some nice meals, some nice big fire pit going, some s'mores and stuff like that, and great quality. The tent was equipped really well, and basically the next morning, you go back, you do some stuff in the morning, you go back to their base camp, I'll call it, and that's where you clean up. They had this whole row of showers and everything, and you cleaned up, you took a shower, had breakfast or a late breakfast brunch kind of thing, and departed. It was a phenomenal experience, and honestly, I don't think it was really a really high priced expensive setup. It's just that whole experience it created was unbelievable. So that's what you're trying to do, and that's the kind of environment, that's the kind of stuff you want to do. So I think it's definitely possible. There's definitely a market for it, but you do want to plan on, a longer period to really get that churning.
Yeah.
Right. And that marketing that's got to go along with it. But I think it was one of the most memorable experiences for my family, and, we'd do it all over again. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely something. I mean, as I start to shift my mindset, I kind of have, I plan on beginning to navigate my way out of like everyday, production and sales and everything with my company. And we're slowly starting to rebuild through a route that's going to allow me to exit, out of the day to day. But with that exiting, that your revenue, I would just say in my position, my revenue potential is going to decrease pretty significantly, but my time and freedom is going to increase tremendously. And I think I've finally decided to, hey, I'm going to bet on myself and allow myself to truly be creative and unapologetically me, and see where that goes. And I don't need an extraordinary amount of money coming in monthly, like I've had for the last few years to pay bills. I haven't done a superb job of acquiring cash flowing properties, but we have great equity positions in the 10 to 12 properties that I currently have. So if that can catapult me into something that I know I can put my passion into, I would be all for building, like an STR experience. And, an STR is such it doesn't mean you have to have just Airbnb and nightly rentals. I mean, I guess I'm starting to understand that, hey, there's a different style of properties, just no different than yours as well. Your specialty is going to be large events. And, I can center around some events around maybe a brand and platform that I create on social media. I'm actually meeting with a brand strategist in early February to kind of discuss that, because, I've always gone between, I've done a great job of creating a brand around my real estate company. But I'm not at the center of that, which is going to work as I begin to exit out of it. But also, I've done a very poor job of creating a brand around myself. And, I've gone back and forth of, our STR property holding company. I call it Coast to Country Ventures, right? So it's like Ventures with Adventures, kind of the tagline slogan. And we handle a lot of stuff from coast to country, and having both properties in the country and the coast. We have reach into Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico as well. And I'd love to see where that could potentially go. And I think trying to create that brand around it is, do I create it around coast to country and be the center of that, or do I create it around, hey, my name and I am the brand? And and people, I don't think at the end of the day, may not be too picky around, if they see me advertising these properties, as long as they have a direct link and a destination digitally to discover more about them. I think that would be plenty sufficient. And I get too caught up in like, what does the brand, need to be, versus just actually being the brand, and I think, so that's what my 2024 is going to be about, not worrying as much about, the entity, rather than worrying about the human and the actual, the action behind that brand, so I don't know if you have any comments on that as you've built your brand for, the properties and whatnot.
Yeah, to me, you need to really prioritize. So there is a place for the brand. There is a place for, what it's going to look like, what it's going to be, what the marketing looks like, what the website looks like, and all that stuff. All that stuff to me is easy to change if you need to change it, right?
Right.
The goal is for you to create this experience you're working on, right? That is your goal that you're aiming for. I would truly focus your effort there versus getting caught up with the branding, getting caught up with all of this. And I understand there's, when you talk to people, there's people who will focus on all those theoretical aspects of things. Hey, let's come down with, what the brand colors look like, what the brand voice sounds like, what the brand really is. And it's important, absolutely important. You need to do that too at some point. That's going to become important. But I'm the kind of guy who loves to have traction executing stuff, right? To get that goal to move in the right direction. And then I'm going to worry about all the other stuff. Hey, if I need to refine the brand a little bit, yeah. But I'll tell you what, every property we own has a name. Yours probably does too. And nobody remembers the name. Nobody's really looking for that name either. So again, in my opinion, focus on creating that experience. Focus on getting people to see it and feel it. And your brand will emerge from it. That's the way I look at it, right? Now, in our case, our brand name came from the first property we bought. It was called Adventure Awaits, and we kept that name because I like that name, right? And we just kept it, and we built it, and we grew it, and I didn't find a need to deviate from it. So if I'm you, and you said, hey, I'm ready to truly make that shift today, I'm sitting down right now and defining what's the next 10 steps, what's that action I'm going to take today to advance towards this goal, and what are the next 10 steps I need to take to really get there. And which ones am I going to tackle today, right? Taking massive action every single day is absolutely critical for this. I like the vision, to be honest with you. I love the vision. I think there's definitely an opportunity in that area. And I think as long as you mentally are ready to push hard and commit to it, this is a vision that's not going to materialize overnight where, hey, I bought a cabin and it's cash flowing. It's not that simple, right? This is a vision that's going to take building.
Right.
But I think that's,
and to be honest, I don't want that easy route. I mean,
Yep.
me and my family, we every property we've bought, we've done some type of, renovation or rehab to,
Yep.
and we love doing that as a family as well.
Yep. So if you're going to build this experience, it's going to take time. And if you have the resilience to hang in there and keep pushing hard, I think you will succeed with this. I like the whole idea. I think the theme is great. Everyone's moving to the outdoors. People come to our property in the hill country because of the outdoors, actually. The inside is actually pretty plain and nothing great about it, right?
Right.
But that's, if you can create that experience, I think that can really make things good for you. I think it's worth a shot. What I would even start with is, again, if you have a property in mind, that's great. If you have the bigger 100-acre property, think about that. Put that in perspective. You don't need, for example, all glamping tents. You can start with a couple. Then you can add in a couple domes, add in a couple A-frames, all kind of unique structures, and create the experience. There's a place in Fredericksburg that has that. I'll try to locate the name and I'll get it to you. But there's a place in Fredericksburg where it's not a very large property, but they have all kinds of unique different things: container homes, A-frames, domes, glamping tents, and they've created this whole experience there, and people go to, I stayed there once, right?
Yeah.
So if you create the experience, if you create a memorable weekend for people to come there with family, I think you'd be
Hmm.
successful with it. Especially in that area, I would strongly encourage you to actually move forward with that vision and the dream, because I think it's definitely possible.
That's awesome, man. No, I appreciate that. And one last question I have for you as we wrap up is, I guess it's probably the most asked question for folks that are really diving deep into creating that platform of their own for the personal brand. But how imperative is it maybe up front to have a let's just say like a direct domain and formal website, custom website for booking? Or, for me right now, I've chosen just to go the path of having the main platforms on Airbnb and, just generating the link and the website for, let's just say, quote unquote, the landing page for through Guestly for the property. And with only essentially one property that I have that's going to be a full-time STR with, revenue optimizing goals. I just haven't seen the need to go after like a Boostly or any type of custom program website.
So we started off with our first property. We launched our website, okay, and
Okay.
we started off from day one with the first property, and we've kept building on it. You don't have to go
Got
with
it.
a really expensive property or a really expensive website, but I do think what you need to do is, create a nice, clean website. So our website that you see online, AA Stays, if you haven't seen it already, um,
Mm-hmm.
I did that. It was a DIY. Okay, it's morphed
Really?
over a
Okay.
period of time. I use Wix. There's a platform called Wix, Wix.
Mm-hmm.
Really not
Mm-hmm.
that hard. And honestly, if you're just creating a couple landing pages, if you're creating a few websites or a few pages on your website, you can pay someone $300 on Fiverr and they'll do it for you, right? I
Yeah.
wouldn't kill yourself overthinking it, right? Get it
Yeah.
done, have it there. And again, if depending on how deep you want to go into it, right? If you're going to go into building this experience and all this stuff, then yeah, you have to start that marketing. And we
Right.
use, for example, my marketing person is a VA in the Philippines. I have a whole team of VAs that help me with operations and marketing and logistics and all the other stuff, right? So
Right.
that it's an amazing thing to be able to have people at your disposal who are actually able to take off that burden from you, because these are
Mm-hmm.
things that need to be very consistent. All the marketing, the social media marketing, this is not a once and done effort.
Right.
These are posts every single day. These are
Yeah.
emails every single day, every week, whatever. If there's no consistency to it, you will not see any benefits from it, right? So this is,
Right.
and don't commit yourself to anything that you have to sit down and do every day for an hour, because you and I both know as entrepreneurs, we're not geared, our minds don't work that way. We're not going to
No.
commit to doing that, right? You need to
Right.
find the who, not the how, versus trying to figure out, hey, how do I do this? So go find someone, and it's not that hard. If there's any way I can help you, point you in the right direction with some of these resources, just reach out. You know where to find me. Um,
Absolutely, man.
yeah, I
That'd
will.
be tremendous. I think you can do a whole segment, as you start to build this platform out for yourself and sharing your knowledge, just on that, leveraging, just human capital for, in exchange for your time, and the VA piece, especially in
Yeah.
this arena and, industry niche. I think that would be invaluable, for everybody, because that's been my one. I've been a very, solopreneur, you know, roll up your sleeves
Yep.
and cowboy up and do it, right? I mean, that's just been my mentality. And as when I say that we're starting to rebuild our brokerage internally, is just due to that mentality that my partner and I have of we do everything ourselves, right? Not necessarily micromanagers. It's just a sense of the niche that we have navigated in our industry really requires a lot of experience, and we've been fearful of trying to delegate other people to help with that. So and we're starting to kind of reverse engineer how we want this to look, and I need to do the same thing for this project as we move forward. Is just making sure that I build it up to where I don't have to rebuild it for just the systems that go into it. So that's why like I said, just mentors like yourself would be tremendously valuable, just to kind of ask those quick questions too, for sure.
Yeah, definitely finding people who have already done it before to guide you through the path. I mean, it's not rocket science, to be honest with you. It's basic and fundamental. We tend not to do
Hmm.
it because we don't know how. We don't have someone
Right.
who can tell us, go through steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're going to get to that goal, right? And we tend to let that sit and simmer because we don't know what the starting point is. But once you get that starting point, you're going to take it and run with it, because now you've got a direction to run it, right? So yeah, just reach out and I'll point you in the direction and do it. And I wouldn't even do it. I'd just find the right people to do it and get it done. You'd be surprised how easy it is. How much time you can buy back with a $10,000 to $12,000 VA a year. Okay, what's your time worth, right? Your time is worth a lot more than that. And you've got someone for 2,000 hours. You're doubling your capacity. Even if that person can only do the job half as good as you can, or takes twice as longer as you can, totally worth it, right? So I would absolutely work on building out that system. For me, we travel a good couple months in a year. We're out and about all kinds of different places in the world. My team has gotten to a point. It's taken me 3 years, but the team has gotten to a point now where they can pretty much run the operations day to day, including issues that come up, and having to get the handyman and the plumber and all that stuff without me being around, right? So they can handle it for a couple of months, no problem, and they do it a couple times a year. We go off for like a month here and a month there, and they're able to do it. And I'm monitoring stuff, but I'm not actively involved or working in it. There's still small little piece of work that I do, like revenue management and stuff like that. But the day-to-day operations, they're handling it and they can handle it. But it's taken effort. If you have that vision and that goal, you just got to keep grinding. It's going to take a couple of years to get there, but you'll get there. It's not rocket science.
It's awesome. Well, man, I appreciate it. I know you've got other things, and I've got about 13 missed calls. So, I'd love to talk some more in the future, and I'm excited to see as you kind of roll this out to other members and follow up on those. And, just like I said, in the future, just leveraging systems, people, and maybe even discussing just, like I said, tapping into financing and, the acquisition piece, maybe leveraging equity and refinancing, pulling money out of other properties. Is something that I'm going to be doing here in the future with good equity positions in properties that I don't want to give up. And that's going to enable me to go and, do some more acquisitions here in the meantime. So I'd love to talk further about that in the future. But it's been a tremendous help, and more than anything, just, obviously great value, but, and then, encouraging and inspirational for me to kind of, continue forging ahead, because you get in the trenches so much, you forget to kind of get your head in the clouds a little bit and see where you're going and, see what that vision is.
Let me give you a little tip, man. You're looking at that end goal and you're thinking about, I need to build this, I need to build this, I need to build this, right? Break it up into chunks.
Yeah.
In order to get to that destination, you've got these 30 chunks of work you need to get done. First might be, hey, I need to go acquire the property. 2 is, I'm going to create that experience. What is that going to look like? 3 is going to be, how do I get to have events there? What's a marketing piece? Break it up into chunks and start accomplishing one at a time, and it's all going to fall in place. That's how it works for me. Being able to piece them down into smaller pieces. Otherwise, I always say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So you have to do that. I think you're aligned on the vision. I think you have a great opportunity here. The problem is most people give up right before they're able to see that success. So as long as you stay in the game, as long as you keep pushing hard, I think you can be very successful there. Are you going to be in Vermont?
I will be. Yeah, we're actually going to fly up on Sunday afternoons. We'll be there, kicking off, trying to hook up with some guys first thing Monday morning.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'll see you in Vermont. I'm going to be there starting Thursday, actually. We're going to go up for the Fambundance event with the family. And I'm actually staying all the way through to the Champions event. I come back on next Friday. So I'm gone for over a week.
Oh, sweet, man. That's going to be awesome. Awesome. Well, good Sounds deal. Good. Well, awesome. Well, we'll definitely connect there. And once again, appreciate you, doing this for us guys. And, look forward to seeing you kind of go down this journey.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Thank you. And if you have any feedback, please let me know. I know the Wi-Fi thing was an issue, but other than that, if there's anything you feel that I could have done differently, I'm completely open to feedback here. And just reach out and tell me whatever you think. It would be really helpful.
Hey, absolutely, man. No, don't worry about the details, right? Just keep hammering out what you do best.
Absolutely. So, thanks, man.
All right, man.
Appreciate
Take care. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for joining us on Vacation Rental Mastery. Don't forget to subscribe and tune in for our next episode, where the journey to financial freedom and lifestyle flexibility continues. Here's to your success in the exciting world of vacation rentals.